Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Trudy Beeler. I am one of the community partnership specialists here at Empath Health, and we'd like to welcome you today and for our conversation about advanced care planning and making your medical decisions known. We look forward to this being an interactive conversation, so if you do have any questions, please do feel free to raise your hand using that feature in the Zoom, or write it into the comments in the chat for us to answer towards the end. Joining us today are my fellow Empath Health Community Partnership Specialists, Josie Flores and Maria Pepe. In recognition of National Healthcare Decisions Day, which is coming up on April 16th, they will be discussing lessons learned about the power of planning, which may result in reduced stress, fear, and confusion regarding your medical treatment preferences while providing peace of mind for your loved ones. So Josie and Maria, thank you so much for leading the conversation today, and we're excited to hear what you have.
Thank you, Trudy, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So as you will hear Josie and I through this brief presentation, you will see how this is so personal to us. So we fully believe in the power of having a conversation with the people important, and the important people in our lives about what matters most to us. Whether we are incapacitated and unable to communicate because of an illness or because of injuries, it is good, and we believe firmly that our loved ones should know about it. We should have the conversation today. So you will see again how this is personal to us, and for that I would like to bring my co-worker and friend Josie to share her story.
Hi, thank you for having me and being able to tell this story. So at the age of 23, after having lost all my grandparents, my father, and my half-sister within a 5-year period, I was faced with a decision that was probably the hardest decision that you could make. And, you know, it's interesting when you're technically an only child to a parent, and you know, moms are never going to leave us. They're never going to die, according to my mother, who at the time was 53 years old. My father, when he passed away, was 50. So oddly enough, we never had the conversation of the things that she wanted. And you know, you're 23, you're setting off to have all these dreams and these plans, and then something happens, and my mother ends up with a headache, and that headache changed the trajectory of my life. And it was given to me to make these decisions that I had no idea what to do. The decision was either to A, turn off machines and let her go, or B, for her to be an organ donor. And that's something that we never spoke about. This was 20 years ago. And so what was I to do? At the time, I did not have the support of my family, and I did not have any idea of what to do. So I had to sit and think about what it is and who she was. So what was organ donation? I didn't really know, but I started to learn that it was going to save people that I would probably never meet. And I started thinking, who was my mother? Who was Anna Maria? Who was she? Well, to everyone that knew her, and maybe that didn't know her, was that she was the kindest, most gentlest, giving person that I have ever met. And we can all say that, or not all of us, but many of us can say that that's what our mother was. And that's who she was. So it took me some time, about 12 hours, to make this decision on an intensive care unit in Miami. And I chose to save other people's lives, even though I didn't know who they were. And that changed my life on so many levels. I was going to be a marine biologist, researching dolphins. That was my goal. And here I am today, working in hospice, trying to help people make different decisions and hold their hands at the end of this journey. So sometimes these decisions can actually change people, but what we can acknowledge is how hard they are. I mean, my mother, I think, didn't have this decision because culturally we're taught, hey, we can't talk about that. If I talk about death, it's going to bring on death, right? And so we have to acknowledge that these conversations are difficult, but boy, are they important. If I had had the tools then, what I have now, I would have been prepared. The stress of having lost my mother or losing my mother and having to change my life completely would have had a little bit less. So I acknowledge that this is difficult, and I can say how important it is. Don't you think, Maria?
Yes, and thank you, Josie, for sharing. It's very moving. You can see why this is personal, and we feel it. And that's the reason why we believe in the importance of having these conversations. These are conversations that most people will try everything in their power to avoid, anything they can. And we understand they're difficult, but they are super important. And as serious as they are, and life-changing as they are, we also want you to relate. And we have found sometimes that not making a light of things, but including a little bit of humor is the way sometimes we relate to difficult conversations. So I'm going to share with you a video. This was shared with us by the Conversation Project. We'll talk a little bit more about it. And the Conversation Project, they believe in this, in the power of conversation. And this video was to share how important it is to practice. So sometimes we're going to see in this video people practicing to have these difficult conversations with the people important in their lives.
Mom. Dad. Sweetie, can we talk? Everyone, dies.
So, how do you want to go? Do you have a plan for your end-of-life care? Because I don't.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you're not getting any younger. So I was binge watching Game of Thrones, which reminded me that everybody dies.
No. You've heard of a birth plan, right? It's like that. Only the opposite. I need your help with something. Can we talk?
My biggest fear is losing you, and that I won't know how you want me to care for you toward the end.
Remember what happened to Aunt Maria? I don't want that to happen to you.
You've taken care of me your whole life. Now it's my turn to take care of you.
So one of the important things about this video, not only they made us smile, as you can see their tension, they're trying to practice how to approach this subject with someone important in their lives. And then, while they're practicing, they realize all the wrong approaches. And there is never wrong or right way to do it. I mean, this is very personal to everyone. But as much as in this video, we are giggling, smiling, but also thinking about how to approach the conversation, let's not forget that one crucial part of the conversation is to listen. And one thing that might get in the way of listening to the people we love, not only is our sometimes knee-jerk reaction of telling them how things should be done or putting our own beliefs first before we actually pause and open our heart and ears to hear that person. Sometimes what interferes with this action is that we haven't really paused to think about what is that we want for ourselves.
And self-reflection is really important. And thinking about, what is it that I want? What is it that I need at this moment, in those moments? And who am I to make these decisions? Because sometimes people invite you to make those decisions. Sometimes you are made to make these decisions. So you do reflect. Like when I talked about my mother, I reflected on who she was. So how do I reflect upon myself? And I feel like that's super important. And our ultimate goal, after all, is that that's not to have a good death, but to have a good life to the very end. And that is so important. So when we talk about what matters to me. So when I think about the end of life for myself, there are things that have to be happening. So first of all, I would need music, because music is my thing. And according to one of my colleagues, she says that she thinks that I was a DJ, and that I would always want to be a DJ. That's like a dream job, which I have been reflecting on, and I can say pretty much might be a DJ once in my life, because that's how much music matters to me. And that idea of playing music. So what else matters to me? My fur babies, my cats, my dogs, I would want them around me. I would want my loved ones around me. I would want to go to the beach. I would want to have my toes in the sand. I would want to have all those moments. But at the same time, as we know in end of life, sometimes people don't have the opportunity to go to the beach, to go put their feet in the sand. So how can we make that happen without being able to take them there? So those are moments that you think about, okay, well, mom can't go to the beach. How can I do this? Well, we have the ability to bring them to the beach and bring the beach to them. Get some sand from the beach, put their toes in the sand, get some pictures, get some videos of waves to make them feel like they're there. I think that is so, so meaningful and important. When I think about my husband, what would he want? Well, for sure, he would be have Metallica playing, because that's his jam, or maybe some Legos, because I have a house full of Legos for a 43-year-old guy, but hey, what can you say, right? But then most of all, smells. So for him, his mom's pasta, the sauce, and some meatballs, that smell that comes into the house, that she's there cooking for hours and hours, that would make him happy. And that is something that we can talk about. Right, Maria? What are your thoughts on that? How about you?
Oh, smells. So I also have dogs, but I like a house that smells like nothing. So it is very common that I greet people like, do you smell my dogs? Do you smell my dogs, when they walk into my house? And why are we talking about these things? You know, when we talk about medical decisions, sometimes we get so caught up thinking about tube feeding or ventilators. But in reality, we need to start at the basics. What brings quality to our lives? So I can tell you that I'm a social butterfly. I can say, you know, with all certainty, that I know a lot of people and I have a lot of friends. So I wrote in my living will a list of people that I will prefer in my hospital room, or in my residential setting, or at home. And it's with my handwriting. So I don't have to make my husband the bad guy, because I think at that moment, privacy is very important to me. And it's gonna be very important to my family. So I wanted to make sure that my family knew that it was okay to say no. I don't want a parade of a lot of people visiting. I also enjoy silence. So as much as I want music and maybe a candle or two, I want my family to know that I want a balance. And it's by reflecting in these things about what's important to me that I can start now listening to what's important to my loved ones.
And that's such a valuable tool to have. Just getting to know people. I mean, sometimes we think we know people and we really don't. And so having these conversations are important. So how do we prepare for them? How do we set the mood, right? So really, you know, when I think about the times that I've had conversations with my husband about this, it's been after a true crime show, or a moment of just reflecting, or when we've watched a really sad movie, or something like that, that we talk about it. We talk about the things that we would like, or that we feel necessary. And, you know, this is a conversation, but at the same time, when you set the environment, you know what, invite somebody to have a meal with you, to break bread, and just to have that conversation. Because sometimes people want the privacy of having, like, setting the mood, some candles, some quiet time, so that you can really get to know somebody. Because the reality is, we think we know the people that we love, but we really may not. You know, we don't know what their inner feelings, with how they're really thinking, especially when it comes to the end of life, because that is the finality and that's the end, right? So how do we do that? Just set up a date, set up some time, and then at the same time, who will speak for you? So even though I've had this conversation with my husband, I have to consider how emotional he'll be. He's very emotional and he's led by his emotions. Even though we've had this conversation, would taking it off his plate make it easier for him? Or do I consider the person that I would go with next that lives in Texas to do it for me? Or my niece, who is an ARNP in Miami, would she be the one to help me with these decisions? Because she has cared for our family members at the end of their life. So it just depends who you really want to speak for you. And at the end of the day, it's the people that know you best, the people that you have had these conversations with. But at the same time, it could be somebody that may have not had a full conversation, but you have deemed appropriate, and you just let them know what you want. Because like I said, my husband is very emotional, so I'm not sure he would be able to even know where the paper is. So
and that's part of advanced care planning, which is what we honored on April 17, is the process of getting to these conclusions, is the process, and it's fluid. Things might change in 10 years. Things might change by the summer. So the beauty about the documents that you can complete is that you can revoke them every time you make a new one, because we also want to make sure that the person that we're choosing is not necessarily the most obvious one, but the right one. And we choose that by making sure that the person that we are selecting as our healthcare surrogate is someone that will honor all our choices. And again, using some of the tools provided to us by the wonderful people at the Conversation Project or Project Talk, I have another video for you that will make us again a little smile and enjoy, but also reflect about who will be that person. So the name of this video is Who Will Speak for You?
Be your healthcare proxy? Like if you need someone to tell the doctor what to? I just go with whatever the doctors say. I wouldn't want to bother them. They're so busy. Doctors know best, right?
Be your healthcare proxy? Sure, I'd be happy to. If I'm in town, check out my Instagram pics from Peru. Wish you were here.
Oh, I could never let you go. I can't even throw a plant away. As long as it's got one little green leaf, I'd be like, can't we upload her to the cloud?
Well, heck yeah. I've given this a lot of thought. Let me tell you what decisions you're best off going with. You never let them resuscitate. And if they even try to hook you up to one of those breathing machines, never. I got this. I totally got this.
How can you even talk about this? I can't, okay? I just can't. Mom, it's not like you're gonna die. No, I can't talk right now.
Oh wait, did I show you that meme from iFunny? The cat and the dishwasher? Oh my gosh, okay. So the cat's like, bleh, and then he's like, wow! Oh wait, sorry, what?
Well, hon, you and I have been through so much together. Here's what we'll do. We'll sit down, we'll get a cup of coffee, and you tell me what matters to you.
Well, it wouldn't be easy. I mean, I'd be sad, but I'd have your back.
I remember when we went through this with Mom, we really spoke for her. So I think I can do that for you. Let's talk about what you would want.
So this video game put a smile on our face, but made us reflect that sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds. You know, we also have to think about the big responsibility. We want you to start having these conversations with anyone that is important in your life. And by doing the self-reflection, like Josie mentioned, you know, by preparing the environment to, you know, have a sit down, you know, maybe it will help you narrow who are these people that you can trust, that are available, that will be there for you, and they will honor your choices, even if they go a little bit against of what they will want for themselves. So there are no wrongs or rights. This is very unique to everyone. And again, what we want is that people start talking about it. We also have tremendous tools we can share with you through Empath Health. We can sit down with people, with anyone that you know, with yourself, and we can, go over all these choices that we can do. In those conversations, we may get a little deeper on what are the most common medical decisions that are being discussed in hospitals day in and day out. So decisions like cardiopulmonary resuscitation when we are at the end of life, decisions like tube feeding. Do I want to go into hospice? Do I want palliative care and choose comfort care over everything else? So we have a lot of tools. We can help you select a healthcare surrogate. We can help you write down your living will. Our document or form also has spaces for you to write down for your family all these other things that Josie and I were talking about: music, silence, visitors, no visitors. So at the end of the day, your family, your loved one, your healthcare surrogate, they're not making decisions on your behalf. Guess what? They're honoring your choices. And bereavement counselors have shared with us that at the moment of passing and years later, when a family has something to reflect back to and say, I honor my loved one's wishes, my loved one's choices, it makes it a little bit less difficult in the grieving process. So not everyone is about tools, not everyone is about forms. So another thing that we learned through the Conversation Project, and Josie will tell you more about this event that we had and who we partnered with, is that, again, not everybody's up to forms. Some people can write a letter.
So recently we were given the opportunity in a research study that was done by Penn State and the University of Kentucky called the Conversation Project. And right now I'm going to actually share with you a letter that was written by Dr. Karen Boudreau, who was an advisor that early on the project. And she wrote this letter to her family, and I'm going to share it. I'm going to actually read it word by word. So be with me and follow me, okay? If you are faced with a decision that you're not ready for, it's okay. I'll try to let you know what I want for various circumstances. But if you come to something we haven't anticipated, it's okay. And if you come to a decision point and what you decide results in my death, it's okay. You don't need to worry that you've caused my death. You haven't. I will die because of my illness or my body failing or whatever else. You don't need to feel responsible. Forgiveness is not required. But if you feel bad, responsible, or guilty, first of all, don't. And second of all, you are loved and forgiven. If you are faced with a snap decision, don't panic. Choose comfort for me. Choose being home for me. Choose less intervention. But most of all, choose to be together at my side, holding my hand, singing, laughing, loving, celebrating, and carrying on. I will keep loving you and watching you and being proud of you. This letter is just a reflection of what one person would want. So we do have all these documents here at Empath Health, but if you really want to write in your own writing what you want, please do so. It's important, but make sure that you make copies and that those copies go into the hands of the right people.
When is the right time, Josie, to have these conversations and to complete all our documents and cross the T's and dot the I's? When is the right time?
Honestly, interestingly enough, the right time is to have these documents and conversations, at 18, when someone is 18 to 20 years old, and for them to know about what your needs and wants are. At the same time, in different times of your life, when you're 30, 40, 50. It just depends on what time. But also if you're having an illness or even going on a trip. I know these conversations are difficult, but it's important to have these conversations because one never knows. My great grandma used to say, you will never know how you're going to end up. So it's important to have these discussions. And so have the discussion today, if that's the choice.
Today, let's honor April 17, National Medical Decision, Healthcare Decision Day. And again, starts with the conversation. And we understand these topics might be upsetting or triggering. And take some time after this meeting today. Breathe. Let's be thankful. Gratitude is a good starter, to put us in the right place. And the same way, we are so thankful for everyone who joined and for everyone that will be watching later and making reflections about healthcare decisions for the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria and Josie, for such a heartfelt conversation today. We truly appreciate you all for joining us today to learn more about the services we provide through Empath Health and how our team provides full life care every day. We would also like to extend a special heartfelt thank you to Kelly Siegel in her absence, to Trudy and Maria for pioneering the Know Us Before You Need Us series. Today's interview will actually be the last for this particular initiative, but we will be announcing very soon our next series. In the meantime, be sure to visit our website for previously recorded sessions. Those links are available in the chat right now. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you all well. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Do we have any
Thank
questions?
you, everyone.
Yes, let's open for a second for questions.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
The videos, is it okay if they're shared?
Yes. So let me, Josie and Verna, do you have each other's contact information?
Yes.
Okay. So it's part of the conversation project, but they're free to use. And as you notice, that was our approach today. The idea is to have the conversation. Again, sometimes we get so caught up with clinical decisions that is so intimidating. And the conversation project is based on that. Let's sit down and talk about what matters most to us. And it will give you tools if you want to even bring it to your community, your staff, a family reunion, however you would like to implement the tools that they give. And we're also available if you want to bring the conversation project to any group, including the videos. They also have a lot of printed materials that you can use, and is based on that. Start with the basics.
And you can always view all of our other videos on our NOAS website. That's the one thing that will not be going away at this point. And if we get any reiterations of it, we will always have those videos available so people can get to know us before they need us. So please, anything that we can do for you, Verna, just let me know.
Thank you. That's great to know, because our pre-planning specialists also start their conversation with, it's time for the conversation. So this presentation was very well put together, very well. So I was impressed, and I just like to share a little bit of it with them, and as well as others, because I'm out in the community a lot. So it's very informative and very well done. I commend you all for that.
Thank you, Verna.
Thank you so much.
Going back to the hospice heart, but and also the field you work in. We work with people in a lot of vulnerable situations, so we want to make sure that we keep our humanity and compassion, because there is no other way to have these conversations. Any other questions from the team? Thank you again so much for being with us today.
Thank you.